Here's what we're buzzing about at NewsBeast. Iraq war is officially over.
Woohoo!
But first, our cheats. Jacob, what you got?
Well, the Golden Globe nominations.
Of course, because hey, Iraq, Golden Globe.
Golden Globes, exactly.
Natural segue?
Yes, and I'm actually going to go out there and say that I'm not so blown away by the war in Iraq being over. I feel like I'm sad we went there in the first place.
We're going to get to that.
Excited by
talk about foreign films or
fine.
Foreign Press Corps' assessment of American films.
This is the artists to lose at this point. It is a sort of amazing little movie. Well, who is nominated? George Clooney has 3 nominations. The Descendants has a lot of nominations.
Good for George Clooney?
Which is too bad because we love George Clooney, but no one really likes it. Yes.
What?
John
Walters
Avlon likes
over
it because
here.
John Avlon likes Clooney.
I like George Clooney. He's a good guy. But I've heard great things about his performance. I haven't seen it yet, though. Ides of March I like a lot.
What's your money on, Jacob?
My money is on the artist, certainly in the musical or comedy one. And drama, I think it could go almost any way, and who cares because most of them are not very good. This is not a great year.
I see.
Okay, Rebecca, cheat.
You love to do the thing with that.
I do. It's kind of fun. It's satisfying.
I'm going to talk about Herman Cain, who wants to be defense secretary. As
He's
he told
so awesome.
Or as Barbara Walters said, what? This is a person who cares little for, or at least did during the campaign, care little for places like Uzbekistan. And doesn't
Libya.
really seem to know where Libya is, but he said in an interview with Barbara Walters, he said that he's really been studying up in the last 4 or 5 days, I guess, and now feels much more
qualified,
on top of it. And he said specifically that this is a challenge that he would be willing to consider.
And yes,
if America came to Herman Cain and said, "Please, Godfather, lead us out of our quagmires around the world," he would say, maybe.
Maybe. I so thought, this just shows how sort of his relationship to reality is at an arm's length. Because Commerce Secretary, it makes sense, maybe, kind of, sort of, right? But Ryan Lizard from The New Yorker had a great tweet about this. He said the real explanation is he just got confused. He thought he was being asked about his secretary's defense, which I think puts it all in. Exactly, that's a 3-pointer.
I'm still not convinced that the entire Herman Cain campaign is not a big
dream?
practical joke.
On the American people?
Or a dream.
One could say that about the
mine.
entire Republican nomination contest.
Yeah, wow.
It's the reality show campaign. Speaking of the reality show campaign, my cheat is National Review going after Newt hard.
That was epic.
Yeah, this is like an 1,800-word editorial basically saying the Republicans should not have a hasty marriage, well-chosen words there, to Newt Gingrich, and really just takes down, and the only candidates they seem comfortable with are actually John Huntsman and Mitt Romney, but they admit they don't have a favorite. They're, everyone's flawed, but they, like George Will, the conservative establishment right now is just setting its sights on Newt because they are terrified he's going to be the nominee.
I'm interested in the phenomenon of an anti-endorsement. You remember them a little bit when John Kerry was the Democratic nominee. People were like, "Oh, really?
Spare us."
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, but so it's funny that National Review can't say, we love Mitt Romney, but they can say we hate
Newt Gingrich.
Yes. This is you reap what you sow.
Well.
You guys are leaving out Santorum. They were very positive.
Sorry, they were
Santorum,
positive about Rick Santorum. I'm just trying to make it a reality based.
I think they're just trying. There's too much time between now and Iowa. We need a little Santorum bubble. I'm on this train.
Really, Santorum bubble?
I'm going to help create the Santorum bubble. I think.
Nice.
You're going to talk to Dan Savage about that. Obsessional.
The war in Iraq is over. Congratulations,
How about that?
Iraq. Everything's better now.
I just don't know how to be excited by it at this point.
Really?
I'm just sad we went there in the first place. I think there's nothing to cheer about Iraq ever.
Well, look. This is certainly the most expensive geopolitical experiment pushed by, in history. This is $800 billion, nearly $1 trillion, 9 years, and just under 5,000 lives. And certainly the whole fantasy that would be greeted as liberators, and we could do this with the small military imprint, as Rumsfeld's suggestion, thoroughly discredited. But we can't turn back the clock. Is Iraq better off now than it was under Saddam? Do you feel? If you think there's no silver lining, Jacob?
Yes and no.
Yes and no? Where no?
Well, half their country's been blown up.
How about lack of electricity, lack of running water?
Yeah.
Infrastructure.
I mean, I'm not saying that the war. I think the Iraq War is going to go down as one of our go down in history as one of America's greatest mistakes and an act of presidential hubris. But we also need to deal with it as it is.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem super purposeful to have a big argument about whether we should have gone into Iraq.
I think that's right.
Now, the bigger question is, are we doing the right thing in leaving now? Which I think, yes, actually, and I think it's a moment that we now have an opportunity to sort of look back and see what went right, and also mourn the many, many deaths and tragedies that happened over the course of the last years,
I would
and
agree
then look forward to the future.
And will Obama use it, as a political?
Well, he campaigned on this, but right now Republicans are beating the president up, saying the precipitous withdrawal. Remember that this actually is along President Bush's timeline, and that the United States actually could not stay. The military cannot stay unless the Iraqi government said, please stay, because it's a sovereign nation. And they actually did not make the accords necessary to actually have us remain with any kind of degree of security. So this is a decision of the Iraqi people consistent with Bush's timeline. I think this is going to be politicized inevitably in the campaign.
Can we just, staying away from politics, where do you think Iraq goes from here? How do you think this plays out in the next year and the next 5 years?
The key to self-determination is whether they can achieve a degree of stability and internal security. Will they end up being a proxy with Iran? Will they end up actually increasing economic ties to the United States?
To me, one of the biggest questions is how this impacts Iran, because with an American troop presence in there, there's a lot more pressure on that regime, and once we start leaving the region, who knows?
Final word.
Done now.
Really? Okay, that's one word. That's a good word. Rebecca.
I'm going to say unresolved.
Sovereign. That's all for us today at NewsBeast. We will see you tomorrow.